boys and girls. Anybody who decides to watch this back. Currently, just looking south, I'm located in a little village called Vix, which is in Burgundy, France, and there are expected to be some good storms throughout the evening into tomorrow morning. And yeah, in the last hour or so, a storm developed to the south of me, probably about 50 kilometers away, and we're starting to see some nice developments. There's been some rumbles of thunder, and this little patch of dark that you can see in the center of the screen at the moment, that's developed very, very rapidly. So my guess is that's going to start putting down bolts of lightning at some point in the not too distant future. If I pan round, you can see an absolutely humongous anvil off in the distance. That's part of a much bigger system a lot further south, over towards Dijon. And yeah, that's the big one. That's hopefully not going to eat up too much of today's energy. But yeah, the main interest here, you can see the rain bands just off in the distance. That's a storm that's basically just started to decay, I think. I haven't heard any thunder from it for a good 10-15 minutes. But yeah, the wind's picking up, it's cooling off, and I think we're going to be in business in the next sort of 20-30 minutes. So yeah, keep fingers crossed, eh? And for whatever reason, this area of France seems to be a hotspot for lightning activity. I might go and sit in the boot of the car because of the fact that this is one of the good things about this setup is I feel relatively safe. I can basically just perch myself in the car and tuck myself right in if it gets pretty rowdy. And the good thing is this boot has got like a plastic liner as well, so if the rain gets heavy, yeah, I can just empty it back out at some point. So it very rarely floods it completely, but it's good to know it's there in case. That might be the first rumble of thunder I've heard, which yeah, that lot's definitely developing. That's probably going to skirt to the east of us, which, if it does develop into something, unfortunately is going to be behind the hill. I'm reluctant to move anywhere else because I'm not very familiar with this area, so at least here I can get a good shot of what's coming. Yeah, this is the sort of prelude to what's going to be coming later this evening. Yeah. So yeah, the road that I'm on at the moment, there was a barrier at the beginning, like 2 signs saying road closed. So technically I shouldn't be up here, but I did have a walk up earlier this afternoon. And they are turning. No. So yeah, I took a walk up here this afternoon to the. There we go. That's the first rumble of thunder I've heard in quite a while. So anyway, yeah, as I was saying, I decided to take a walk up and notice that there were other people driving up, so you can pass the barriers. So I don't feel too bad for being here. And I can't imagine many people coming out in the middle of the storm to tell somebody to move. But who knows? I'm pretty crazy. Yeah, look at that anvil over there. Big system. So the other thing about where I am at the moment is I'm right on the... So anybody who knows Estofx, they do European storm forecasts. That also includes the UK. And yeah, basically they had us down for a level 2, or at least I'm on the very edge of a level 2. And that sort of direction that I'm pointing the camera at the moment is pretty much right in the middle of that zone, I suspect. So hopefully that isn't the main course. But we're still expecting this evening to be much more active. And as I was saying before, unfortunately it gets very dark here, so there's not going to be that much detail in the foreground, but you do end up getting some very good lightning bolts off in the distance, because you can see, like, it's pretty much a 180 view. So whichever way the storms decide to go, I've got a good chance of capturing them. So, and because we're away from main roads, don't have any annoying car sounds. The one you just heard was just somebody coming back down the hill. So I'm perched on the side of this hill at the moment, and you can go to the top, which is much higher, but you're restricted to a pretty narrow view of the horizon. So it offers better views, but more restricted in the sense that you're sort of restricted to probably 45 degrees of the horizon. So, but yeah, this seems to be waking up. I've heard 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder coming from it recently, after going quiet for about half an hour. And yeah, you can see off in the distance, like, there's a nice base. I don't know if you can zoom. Maybe you can. You can see the base of it. And this is probably quite a high level. But yeah, let's zoom back out. There we go. So yeah. So yeah. So there is the odd rumble of thunder coming through on the that I can hear at the moment. Whether it's being picked up on the stream is another thing. If you could let me know in the chat, that'd be great. No. Oh yeah. There we go. She's waking up after going quiet. And to anybody who watches back the stream, I sincerely apologise. If you got to this point, well done. Because unfortunately, by the time I'd managed to arrive at this location, the storm had really sort of cooled off. Does seem to be moving quite a bit now though, so there's a little rumble of thunder in here, and it's definitely louder than it was before. But it's possible that these are quite high-based storms. Certainly have that look about them. So we've got a bit of a bonus storm going on here. It's still a little way away, but as you can see, yeah, it looks good, man. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, this storm developed about an hour ago, about 50 kilometers south of where I am. And yeah, they're definitely starting to move quite a bit. So yeah, it went quiet for a good 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, definitely a really high up storm. but for sure has woken up. Yeah. So there's the full extent of that system further to the southeast. And that's even further east, so that's looking almost directly east. So yeah, that thing over there, it's an absolute beauty, that anvil, but we should be alright. It's not eating any of our fuel, our storm fuel. Yeah, getting constant thunder. Yeah, if you are watching, feel free to share it on the weather fans. Nice one. Good to know. Yeah, and this isn't even the main course. This is like starters. Tonight, I think from about 10 o'clock, we're expecting probably maybe 2, 3, 4 hours of storms. There is a level 2 SWX warning out for this area, and yeah, it does get pretty scary. So, you know, I've got 2 daughters and they stayed here last year while we were back in England, and they are absolutely traumatized from the storm that they had one night. I think the temperatures got up to about 40 degrees, and of course, as we know, well, at least what it used to be the case in England, you get to 25 degrees and you were guaranteed a good storm. Whereas here, there's a lot more energy to play with. And I don't know whether there's some sort of geographical feature of this area. As the storms start approaching from sort of southwest France, they move up. There's not really much to sort of stop them. And then they reach this area, and you can see this is like a plain. And then as they approach this area of Burgundy, going into the sort of Champagne region, you start to get to encounter lots of hills. Sorry about the choppiness. I tell you what, that's pretty dark behind me as well, so something's developing behind me as well. But yeah, this seems to be a breeding ground. Very nice of you to say, Gordon. I learnt it from the best. But I'll try and shut up for a second because there are a few rumbles of thunder. It'd be interesting to see, or to find out if you can hear them at least. And that thing over there looks like an updraft. I don't know if it will zoom in a little bit. That's a bit too much. But yeah, that seems to be feeding what has become this dark mass over my head. Unfortunately, that's going to be obstructed, so we're not really going to get a good view. There's a nice kestrel or something out there as well. But yeah, absolutely chucking it down over there. Yeah, so tonight I'm going to come back here. I don't know if anybody could hear that. If you can put it in the chat to see if this is being picked up by the microphone, that'd be great. But yeah, I suspect this is going to pass, and then it will really get going a little bit later on. And you know, the light levels are starting to drop now, so anything that is in these clouds, we should be able to start seeing it. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, there's a really black cloud over to my right hand side. It's just on the other side of the hill. My guess is that's going to start producing soon, and this could reinvigorate, so we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, and it was a real, definitely picking up. It was a real shame to hear about the UK. I know there was a lot of excitement about yesterday's chances. Northern England, Scotland, parts of eastern counties, they were expecting a decent show. That never really materialised. I know the Midlands managed to get a decent display. That was not quite as expected. So it just goes to show you can never tell with the weather. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted that I can't see this. But yeah, look at these clouds. They're really starting to bubble up. And that's the one thing I hate about the UK, is that obviously being a maritime climate, we just don't have the opportunity to produce these types of storms. In my location, at least on the south coast, Bournemouth, Christchurch area, we're very dependent on storms pushing out of France, and even that has been really difficult to achieve this year. I know not all places are the same, but yeah, for the south of England, I think for pretty much 12 solid summer months, if you count June, July and August, I don't think we've actually had a storm, a decent storm in all that, in probably about 3 or 4 years. And the rain is starting. So there is thunder, but it's very high up. Yeah, you can see that starting to form now. No worries, Gordon. It's amazing to think that storms can be so high that you can't really even hear the thunder that well. But it is what it is. So there's more. If you look through the clouds over there, there's still more that you can see actually. So that might be more to come later. Typically these storms they develop further south, and they're probably taking about 2 or 3 hours to make their way north. And the time at the moment, yeah, so it's 7 o'clock local, or getting on 20 to 7 local time. So that puts us into the sort of time frame where it starts to get dark. And what's great about this location is you can see where the camera's pointing at, the direction where the storms are coming from. And I've managed to get some really nice photos here last year. Yeah, as long as you can get past the noises that you hear when it's like pitch black, it's usually okay. But it was quite reassuring earlier actually, because I saw 2 deers that obviously weren't expecting me to be here, and I was just as surprised to see them as they were to see me. So yeah, if I do hear any noises tonight, I won't be as worried about it. Hopefully it will be very noisy, if you know what I mean. But my mother-in-law, she's convinced that there are wolves that have been seen in this area. I don't think they pose much of a threat to the sort of, I don't think they sort of attack people, if there are, but I think there are stories of like Northern Europe places are starting to sort of see more numbers of wolves as they sort of spread through the wild again. But yeah, so yeah, this is to the north. That could go bang, but I've still got all my hopes on this direction come 10 o'clock this evening. Right, sorry about the noise folks, but gonna have to get a power bank out to plug my phone in. Thunder is getting closer now. I've not seen any bolts of lightning or of any kind, but definitely. Definitely hear that. Don't know exactly where it's coming from. It's a bit strange. It's hard to pinpoint. Tell you what though, these clouds are moving in funny directions. Oh, that might have been a flash of lightning up there. Or it could just be my eyes playing tricks on me. Yeah, this seems like a prefrontal thing. So there is thunder, there is lightning, but it's very difficult to make out. It's kind of like a background rumble at the moment. If this is coming through on the stream, please do post a comment just to let me know. I am worried that you're basically listening to me and nothing else. But yeah, there is a sort of reverberating thunder that you can hear. But it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. And the real main course is expected to be this evening. So this wasn't really expected to be happening at this time. I do have a background worry that this is basically it, and then yeah, it's really high up. Very high up. Can anyone confirm if you can hear this? Yeah, it's not very exciting at the moment, guys. I do apologise, but yeah. The thunder is just starting to pick up now. But it's a very high storm. It's not surface based, I don't think. And I've been hearing thunder probably for the last 2 hours. Give or take, on and off. I've been getting alerts to say that there's a storm close by. But yeah, it's not really making that much noise. And I haven't seen any real bolts of lightning or any flashes. And I'm in a quiet location as well, so I don't have to worry about background noise of cars or that kind of thing. Usually when I'm streaming, oh well, this is my first stream, so usually when I'm recording and filming lightning, I'm usually down by the coast, which can be quite noisy. But it'd be great if this thunder was a bit noisier. We do want to hear that, that's for sure. Yeah, it's really high up. Very, very high up. Yeah, definitely getting closer. I just wish it was dark so we could see some of this lightning activity. Rain's still a way off as well. And you can tell when lightning is high up in the clouds. It has this sort of reverberating sound. It's kind of a bit eerie. But as far as I can tell, so far nothing has really made its way to the ground. I think I'm fairly safe where I am in the car. I can hear a strange noise, that's for sure. Yeah, the good news is it hasn't cooled down all that much. It got to 32 degrees today. So plenty of storm food, plenty of moisture. It had I think the temperature on the weather app got up to like 31. Feels like 34, so my guess is the humidity was quite high. Definitely getting louder. And usually what happens in this location is a little bit further on, it reaches some hills. These are pushing sort of southwest to south to northeast. And as they start to encounter the hills to my east, they develop quite rapidly, which might be the case for these. The ones for tonight are expected to develop further west and push in, so we'll know how they start to form. Well, they should start to form in the next sort of hour or so. I can't really check while I'm on the stream, but that's my suspicion, just going off my experience here in the past. In the UK, if you get a storm, 9 times out of 10 that's it, and it's done and dusted. This location, so just to be clear, we're in a tiny little village called Vix, not far from a town called Châtillon-sur-Seine in Burgundy, and it always seems to be, if I check lightning maps and France has got a storm, they're always heading in this direction. I wish I could move here, to be honest, but unfortunately I don't speak the lingo. Should do really, but yeah, it's a very beautiful place. As you can see, it's just mostly farmland and agriculture, famous for its wines. And then, so this is Burgundy. About 5 minutes up the road is the Champagne region. So when you sort of come off the motorway to get to this location, you pass all the vineyards, and yeah, it's beautiful. Very calm, very relaxed. Very sleepy, if you like that kind of thing. Might move the camera to the other side, because this side is pretty much finished now. I think if we're going to see anything, I think we're more likely to see it over this side here. Yes. Fortunately, it's just starting to die out again. There we go. You know, I could sit here all day and do this. If you could get paid to just sit and listen to thunder, what a life that would be, eh? A couple of the locals must be looking at me thinking, who is this mad person sitting with his boot wide open, looking out into nowhere? The problem is, everybody in this location, they you know, I think they're so blasé about storms because they experience them so often. So yeah, I kind of get it. They look at me a bit strange. Obviously, my in-laws, they've definitely got to know me over 20 years, and they know what to expect. So, and the great thing is, I've been coming here every year pretty much. The only years we've pretty much missed out on is over COVID, and I've never not experienced a storm while I've been here. So that's kind of gives you an indication of how prevalent storms are in this area, where I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to experience one while I'm here, which is good for the soul when you've had such a bad year when it comes to storms in the UK. Obviously, we had that storm on the 2nd of May that pushed over from sort of Calais. It sort of skirted the south coast before dying out, and I was at the top of Portsmouth Hill. There we go, the wind's getting up a bit now. Portsdown Hill filming that one, and I was thinking to myself, what a great start to the year. But unfortunately, it's turned out to be one of the worst storm seasons I can remember. Not to say that it isn't, like that's it, it's done. I know we're approaching the end of summer, but you know, the last 2 or 3 years, as we've moved into September, there's been some cracking storms. So I've not given up hope for the UK just yet. I'll just be quiet a second because there's a peal of thunder high above us. If anybody can confirm that they can actually hear any thunder, that would be fantastic. And me, I'd hope you're not just staring at this with no commentary. But yeah, the storm season in the UK has just been abysmal. There's no way really to put it other way than that. But yeah, another interesting fact about this area. So I'm going to move this, and there'll probably be like a bolt of lightning come down now, but I'm going to point the camera in a slightly different direction. But there's some houses over here, and I will try, let's see if I can zoom in, just get it a little bit further down. There we go. So this village is called Etoshe, and in 2013 it was actually hit by a tornado around about the summer solstice. My parents-in-law, they sent me some pictures. They had a lot of trees down in the area. There's quite a few buildings over there that were damaged as well. And I had a look back through the Estofex archive for that date, and I could have sworn there was a level 3 issued that day that had this area smack bang right in the centre of it. And so I expected them to get some decent storms in the area, and for my parents-in-law to sort of tell us that, but what they ended up reporting was pretty amazing. If you go over to NetWeather, and look at my profile Southern Storm, there is an album I think posted from that sort of time frame. You'll have to sort of go back through the pages a little bit, but you'll get to see some of the hailstones that were collected. They were pretty impressive. Like I think they kept some for Christmas actually, so we could put one in a drink, which I thought was a cool little touch. But yeah, this village, there was quite a bit of damage, and if you drive along this road that's leading that way, you see some of the trees to this day, they're heavily damaged. Not too dissimilar to what you'd see in the States, to be honest. I don't think it was a massively powerful tornado. But yeah, it definitely was scary for the locals. Oh, there you go. I managed to zoom out a lot more than I did before, which is good. Oh, maybe not. So yeah, I think I'm going to put an end to this stream for the time being. I'm wary of how much data that I'm using. I think you have a limit when you're sort of roaming in Europe, especially on the plan that I'm on. So I want to save this for tonight if there's going to be some storms tonight. So I will be back on later, and it'll hopefully be a lot more intense than what we're getting right now. Yeah, so I did get in the car because it was getting a little bit to the point where I was thinking there is a possibility it could throw something down. You can hear the thunder just about. But yeah, sorry, I was saying before, if you go back to Southern Storm channel on NetWeather and go back, you'll see some of the pictures of when they ended up when that particular village was hit. So that's about a kilometre away from where my parents-in-law live, and yeah, so they got affected by it as well. But I think they got very lucky, to be honest. It brought down a couple of big trees, but yeah, I think we'll call it quits for now, and hopefully later on this evening I'll be back in this particular location, and we should definitely be able to pick up some storms then. I mean, they'll be flashing away on the horizon. If it's as big as they're expecting, then it's going to be like strobe, I would say. So that's what I'm holding out for. If you did manage to stay tuned in for this long, congratulations. Sorry it didn't put on the show that I was hoping that it was going to do, but that's nature for you. You can't really plan for these things. But it's been enjoyable just to sit here and listen to thunder rumbling away. It's nourishment for the soul if you're a storm fan, you know. And it doesn't always. I prefer storms not to be overhead, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm sure it makes for some great footage for a lot of people, but you know, they stay away a little bit of a distance. That's fine by me. It means I can get some nice photographs. I feel safer, and you know, you still get to enjoy the thunder. But yeah, unfortunately, this just hasn't gone on to produce what I expected it to. There is a little bit of a darkening above me, so I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And it is going dark to my south again, but the rain is approaching. Yep. Tell you what though, when you're in the middle of the countryside, you do hear some strange noises. Being a town lad, it can be a little bit worrying at times, especially. So I'm just going to turn the camera. It's actually over in this direction. I'm not expecting it to put anything down, but if it does, I mean, this is the highest point in the area, so if it's going to strike anything, you think it would be this hill. And my wife's parents' house, where we're staying, is just like probably a 2-minute drive from here. And you can often see lightning bolts hitting the top of it. It's very impressive. Sounds even more impressive. But yeah, as it sort of rumbles around the hills in this area, the lightning sounds, like the thunder sounds incredible. But yeah, it's definitely looking a bit better over towards my south and southwest. It's cleared up, which is reassuring for tonight, I think. Kind of counterintuitive, but yeah, you kind of have to trust the models and the weather, the forecasts. There has been warnings put out for this area, and it was a level 2, so definitely worse than what we've just experienced. They were forecasting very strong winds, hail, and obviously like serious amounts of precipitation. So my guess is that they wouldn't do that unless there was a genuine reason for it. But yeah, I'd say we've got about 2 more hours of sunlight left, and then we really should start to be in business, where I can point my camera over towards the south and we should start to see these storms rolling in. And now the rain's starting. Okay, well, thanks guys, thanks for tuning in. I shall be back later, I suspect. This hasn't really done what I expected it to do, but you've got to be in it to win it, and I could have sat at home, and knowing my luck, if I had done, this probably would have exploded. But that's the way it feels a lot of the time as a storm fanatic. So of course that's not the way the weather works, but yeah, I suspect there's going to be continuing rumbles of thunder and not much else for the next hour or two. So yeah, I'm going to sign off for now, and she'll be back on a little bit later.